Good evening. Tonight's shiur I want to dedicate, in addition to Chana Bas Rasha Zelda, B'toich Kol Shar Cheli Yisrael for Refuah Shlema and Kreva, L'havdil Ben Chayim L'chaya Chayim. I want to dedicate tonight's class to the Simons family in Sydney, who are in the midst of sitting Shiva after the horrific car accident in which both of their parents were killed, Reb Zev and Rachel Simons, Zechronim Levracha, whom I was privileged to know during my visits to Sydney. Hamakam Yenachem Eschem B'Seich Shar Avei Tzion V'Yerushalayim, and the following words and ideas are dedicated to your moment of endless grief and shock. The Gemara says in the Sechta Brachas Daf Zayin, Zog the Gemara, that Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yossi. Reb Shmuel, the son of Nachmani, said in the name of Rabbi Yossi, B'schar Gimel Zocha LeGimel. As a reward for three things that Moshe Rabbeinu does in this week's Parshas HaShavua, he merited three rewards. Vayaster Moshe Panav Zocha LeKlastar Panim. B'schar Kiyore Zocha LeVayiru Migeshes Elov. B'schar Mehabit Zocha LeTmuna V'Tmunas Hashem Yabit. Which means this. In this week's Parsha, in Parshas Shmois, we have the moment when Moshe Rabbeinu observes the burning flame in the sneh, in the thorn bush. And he approaches the sneh, he approaches the bush. He wants to understand, Madua la yivar hasneh. The bush is burning with a flame, but it's not being consumed. Why is it not being consumed? And when Hashem sees that Moshe Rabbeinu is moved to observe the sight, he says, Moshe, Moshe, and Moshe says, Hineni, and he says, Moshe, don't come close. Shal ni alecha meyal raglecha ki amokim ashrat oimed alavat maskoideshu. Remove your shoes from your feet because you're standing on sacred soil. And then he tells him, Anoichi Elekei Avicha, I am the God of your father, Elekei Avraham, Elekei Yitzchak, Elekei Yaakov, the God of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Vayaster Moshe Panav, and Moshe concealed his face. Ki Yorei Mehabit Ele Elokim, because he was awestruck, he was scared to gaze at God. And Hashem continues telling him that I have seen the affliction of my nation, I have heard their cries and groans, and I am sending you to rescue them from Mitzrayim. So what happens when Moshe hears the voice of Hashem? When he sees the burning bush and Hashem says, it's me, the God of Avraham, of Yitzchak, and of Yaakov, what does Moshe do? Vayaster Moshe Panav. Moshe hides his face. He's scared to look at Elikim, he's scared to look at God. So back to the Gemara in Bracha, Zog the Gemara. As a reward for these three things, Moshe Rabbeinu merited three things. As a reward for Vayaster Moshe Panav, for Moshe hiding his face, he was Zoiche to Klastar Panim. He was Zoiche to a radiance, a special luminescence that adorned his face. Later in Parshas Kisisa, when he comes down from the mountain with the second tablets, Karan Or Panav, his face is glowing with an extraordinary celestial luminescence. B'schar Kiyore. As a reward for Kiyore, he was fearful, he was awestruck. Zacha levayiru migeshes elov. He merits that later, when he has this great luminescence, the Jewish people are awestruck in the presence of Moshe Rabbeinu. They're fearful to approach him. Third, B'schar mehabit, as a reward for not wanting to look at Hashem at the sneh. Zacha, what was he Zacha? L'tmunas Hashem Yabit. In Parshas Ba'aloischa it says that Moshe Rabbeinu sees an image of God. Here we have a major question. I can understand the first two rewards for his first two actions, or for his first two passive actions. Since he was humble, he hid his face, so he was Zoiche to a special radiance, to a special light. Understood. Since he was awestruck in the presence of the Almighty, that Yiras Hashem that permeated him caused others to be awestruck in his presence. Understood. But what is the meaning of the Gemara in Brachas? That since Moshe Rabbeinu did not want to see Hashem, therefore he was zoiche to see Hashem. Since he was Mekayim, Vayaster Moshe Ponav Kiyori Mehabit El Elikim, he was zoiche, he merited Utmunas Hashem Yabit, that he should see the image of Hashem. What type of reward is that? He didn't want to see Hashem. Vayaster Moshe Ponav, he had a choice, but he concealed his face. So you're rewarding him by giving him something that he did not want. He did not want to see Hashem, so therefore he was zoiche to see Hashem. If it's good to see Hashem, why did he conceal his face? If it's not good for whatever reason, what type of schar is it that for not wanting to see, he's given a reward that he asked that he sees? What is the meaning behind this Gemara? So various commentators elaborate on it and discuss it. The Sefer Ikrim, the great philosophical work by Rabbi Yosef Albo, Maimer Beis, has a whole discussion on this. But this evening I want to focus on the words of Rabbeinu Bechaya. Zokt Rabbeinu Bechaya in our parsha, he says, Ubir Zeh. The meaning of this Gemara in Masechta Brachos, which is by the way also in Medrash Rabbah on this parsha, what is perturbing Rabbeinu Bechaya? This question. And for the Bechaya, ki beschar shenisyoriyata lahabit el elikim. Hi ashchina she midas hadin v'nikras aspaklar yishein amir zochel asoiv shenistakel bispaklar yamir v'midas harachamim. The Rabbeinu Bechaya points out to us a very interesting and critical point, and that is, what is the word that is used here for God? Ki yarei Moshe Rabbeinu was scared mehabit el ha'elikim. He was scared to gaze at Elikim. What is his reward? In Parshas Baloischa, Usmunas Hashem Yabit. Not Elikim, but Hashem. There is a difference between how Hashem is defined as Elikim and Hashem is defined as Hashem Havaya, Yudke Vavke. So as a reward for not wanting to gaze at Elikim, he was given the opportunity and the privilege to gaze at Havaya. That's the distinction Rabbeinu Bechaya makes. So there's no contradiction. To put it in his words, Moshe Rabbeinu was fearful to gaze at Midas Hadin, at the attribute of judgment, at the presence of God, which is not luminescent. And as a result of that, he merited to gaze at the Aspaklarya Meira, at Midas Harachamim, at the attribute of compassion, of revelation, of the manifested presence of Hashem. The Ponim Yafos says a similar idea to Rabbeinu Bechaya, more in Kabbalistic terminology, but with the same thrust. But what does this mean? What is the explanation in these words of the Rabbeinu Bechaya, as well as in the Ponim Yafos? Let us preface the commentary of the Degel Machane Ephraim. The Degel Machane Ephraim is a Hasidic work that was authored by a grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, Zog the Degel Machane Ephraim in the Sugya of the Sneh, explaining it according to the mystical and Hasidic interpretation. And he says it's based on an idea that he heard from his Zayda, from the Baal Shem Tov, concerning Machshavei Zaros, concerning alien thoughts that the Jew experiences during davening. As we know, the Alter Rebbe discusses this in the 27th chapter of Tanya. We'll get there in a moment. But let's hear what the Degel Machane Ephraim has to say about Machshavei Zaros. A Yid is in the middle of davening, a Jew is praying to Hashem, and he gets involved, he's trying to have kavanah, he's trying to have the proper concentration, the proper meditation, the proper focus as he is communicating with the Rebbeinu Shalom, with the Master of the universe. And then he is experiencing myriads or many machshavei zaros, alien thoughts, sometimes ugly cravings, sometimes immoral instincts, sometimes various dispositions and taivas and yearnings that are unethical, that are immoral, that are often grotesque. Zok the Degel Machane Ephraim, this is the vision that Moshe Rabbeinu sees. A Jew's heart is on fire. But in the midst of the fire there is a sneh, there's a bush that's filled with thorns. What are the thorns? The thorns are all the Hurim Royim, the Klipos, the thorns that are trying to sting him, that are trying to pierce through his soul, that are trying to disturb him, that are trying to distract him from any serenity, from any tranquility, from any real relationship with Hashem, from a good davening. And the Jew asks, Madua lo yivar asneh. I am trying to daven, I am trying to work on myself, I'm trying to get close to Hashem. Why is the sneh so powerful? Why does it not get consumed in the fire of my Islavos? If my davening is genuine, if I have a soul, if God cares about me, why does the thorny bush keep on distracting me, keep on bothering me, keep on afflicting me? I get up to daven, the moment I say, Baruch Atah Hashem, I am overwhelmed with multitudes of machshavas zaros, of alien thoughts about everything in the world besides davening. Madua la yiver hasneh, why doesn't the sneh get consumed? Why don't the thorns get burnt up in the genuine flame, rishafeh, rishvayesh, in the genuine passion of my soul? Doesn't this demonstrate that my kavanah is ingenuine, my davening is worthless, it's in vain, it's futile? Vayar Hashem kisar liros. And Hashem sees the frustration of the Jew trying to understand. And he tells him, take your shoes off your feet. Don't doubt the genuine spirituality of your soul. Don't delegitimize the fact that your heart cares about truth. Don't destroy your integrity and tell yourself that you're a hypocrite, you're a liar, just because there are thorns in your flame. Elamai, how can there be alien thoughts in the middle of davening? Zog the Degel Machen Ephraim, you heard from the Zayda, from the Baal Shem Tov, Anoichi Elokei Avicha, I am the God of your father. Avicha means your father. Avicha in Hebrew also means your cravings. Ava means desire, craving. Avicha means your desire. I am the God behind your desires. I am the God behind your cravings. And he says that the Baal Shem Tov used to teach that in the depth of all these alien thoughts are divine sparks that fell down very, very low. And they're coming to the person in the middle of davening so that he should actually sublimate them. How? Say the craving that he experiences is in the attribute of love. Immoral love or unethical love, and so on and so forth. But essential, in the depth of that craving, there is a divine element of love that fell down very low. So he must embrace the spark, the holiness within the craving, and bring that back to God. Show that the source of the craving, the true depth of this craving is not alien, is not unholy, is not immoral, but it's actually divine. There is God in the Machshava Zara. Elokei Avram. If the Machshava Zara is in Chesed, it's the God of Avram. Elokei Yitzchak, if the Machshava Zara is from Gvur, it's the God of Yitzchak. Elokei Yaakov, it's from Tiferes, it's from Rachamim, but godliness is at the core of it. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu sees, the process of being Ma'ila, sublimating Machshava Zaras. That's what the Degel Machne Ephraim says. So you might ask the question, why Vayasta Moshe Panav? Why did Moshe conceal his face? He was scared to see the God in the Taifas, the God in the Machshava Zaras. But anybody who learned the Sefer HaTanya from the Alter Rebbe, I think, can immediately give what I think perhaps is a correct answer to this question. Zog the Alter Rebbe in the 27th Perek of Tanya. Va'al yehi shoyte lasek ba'alas hamidas. If you're in the middle of davening and you're experiencing an onslaught, an avalanche of alien cravings and thoughts and yearnings that are disturbing you and are distracting you and are schlepping you down and are taking you away from davening, don't be a fool, says the Alter Rebbe, to start sublimating the alien thoughts. How can he call this person a shaita? It's a teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. Not only that, the Alter Rebbe in other discourses discusses it. Not only that, in the Geras HaKodesh he discusses it, in the Tanya. So what's the answer? The answer is the Baal Shem Tov said it, l'tzadikim. Tzadikim don't experience their own machshava zaras, they experience other people's machshava zaras. They could sublimate in the middle of davening. However, the Beinani, the person who's not a tzaddik, the machshava zaras are coming from him. How can he sublimate these cravings upwards when he himself is tied down below? Instead of sublimating them, he will be schlepped down, he will be bogged down by them. On the contrary, he may fall spiritually and morally as a result of them. Rather than sublimating them, he will become a slave to them because he is not liberated from their experience. He's not liberated from the husk and the shell that is eclipsing the spark. And thus the proper thing for him to say is, I'm in the middle of davening now. I know I have two souls. I have a divine soul and an animal soul. When the divine soul starts prevailing, starts revealing itself, the animal soul, like in a hand wrestle, gives more power in order to defeat it. But that doesn't mean the person should give in and surrender to the alien cravings of the animal soul, but rather cling and become even more strong in the commitment of the divine soul of the Nefesh Elikis in the middle of davening. Moshe Rabbeinu, then, the shepherd of Israel, Moshe the Roya Shel Yisrael, Vayaster Moshe Panav Ki Yarei Mehabet Elikim. Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the Nasi of Klal Yisrael, Moshe, who is the leader of all the Jewish people, who experiences the Jewish people, who guides them, who mentors them through their journey and through their travails and through their struggles and ups and downs and vicissitudes of life, cannot afford to transcend this experience and see Anochi Elokei Avicha in order to be there for the Jewish people who are not on the level of tzaddikim, who experience these machshavei zaros. Vayaster Moshe Panav. Moshe himself doesn't want to habit el Elokim, so he should be able to understand the struggle. He should be able to understand the fight, the conflict that the ordinary Jew goes through, and it should be able to guide him and help him navigate that conflict. But now let us take this principle of the Degel Machane Ephraim and apply it to a more simple level. Not when we're dealing with the issue of Machshavei Zaros, but dealing with a different type of pain. Zog the Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Shmois. This is also discussed in Zoyar, and it's discussed in various Mefarshim. What was the symbol of the sneh? The bush that's burning but is not being consumed. There are many explanations. One of them given in Medrash Rabbah is the sneh was symbolic of the Jewish people. The Jewish people who are a small bush, quantitatively a very small minority of the larger human civilization. Throughout history, usually not even constituting 1% of civilization. And yet this bush is on fire. Every major empire, every major civilization sought to target the Jew, to cut the Jew down, even to annihilate the Jew. Whether it was the Egyptians or the Babylonians, the Assyrians or the Persians, the Greeks or the Romans in those generations. And the modern day tyrants of our generation, the Stalins and the Hitlers and so on and so forth. They sought to consume and destroy the sneh, but vasnei nenukol. Moshe Rabbeinu, the faithful shepherd of Israel, is watching the Jewish history unfolding. When Moshe Rabbeinu is standing in the desert, he is not only gazing at a burning bush, he is gazing at 4,000 years of Jewish history, of Yiddish kinderlach who are burning in the ovens of Auschwitz and Majdanek, of terrorists blowing up cafeterias, pizza shops, buses and basketball fields. Moshe Rabbeinu watches inquisitions and pogroms. He watches expulsions and persecutions. Madua lo yivar asnei, he wonders why. What is the secret that the sneh is not burning? He sees here the powerful mystery of Jewish existence, afflicted with so much pain, with savage suffering, often defying human imagination, and yet somehow after thousands of years, hasnei nenu ukol. The bush is not consumed, the bush is not destroyed. Am Yisrael Chai, and Moshe approaches the burning bush to understand. Madua lo yivar hasna. What is the secret of this paradox? What is going on? If the bush is not supposed to be destroyed, why is it burning so powerfully? If it is supposed to be destroyed, how is it that it's not destroyed? Moshe is perturbed by the sight. He wants to understand the secret. He wants to understand what is going on here. Most importantly, he wants to understand, as Chazal say later, he'll tell Hashem, Areini nostrachecha. Tell me the secret of tzaddik viraloi, rasha v'toivloi. Tell me the reason why good people suffer and wicked people often prosper. Moshe, in the tradition of Avraham Avinu, who screams, Ashayfet chalaretz lo yasem mishpat. Will the judge of the whole earth not behave justifiably? Moshe himself also wants to understand the secret behind the burning bush. Later, when he will be sent to Parai and the exile will only be intensified, he will protest to the Almighty and say, Lama re'yisa la'amazeh. Why are you afflicting this nation? V'hatzei lo yitzalta esamecha. You have not rescued your nation despite your promise to me that you will save them from this horrific exile. This he will say at the end of Parshas Shmos. Moshe Rabbeinu, the great lover of the Jewish people, wants to understand the secret of pain. He wants to understand the secret behind collective pain and behind individual pain. What is behind the burning bush that yet refuses to be consumed? Hashem tells him, Anochi Elokei Avicha. I am the God of your father. Look at this flame. Look into this burning bush. Look into this fiery flame that is burning, that is threatening to destroy the Sneh Elu Yisrael. And you'll see Elokei Avicha, you'll see the God of your father. You'll see Elokei Avraham. You'll see Elokei Yitzchak v'Elokei Yaakov. Zog the Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Shmos, that at that moment, if Moshe Rabbeinu would have agreed and he would have looked, Hashem was ready to reveal to him Malamailo Malamata. Hashem was ready to reveal to him the divinity within the flame. He was ready to expose him to the light that is in the depths of the darkness. Hashem was ready to give him a taste of the purpose and the meaning within the suffering, within the darkness, within the pain, within the flame that is burning and burning and burning and threatening to destroy the bush. He was ready to reveal to him the greatest secrets, the secrets of the universe. And what did Moshe do at that moment? Vayaster Moshe Ponov. Moshe eclipsed his face. Why? Ki yorei mehabit el ha'elikim. Because he was scared to gaze at Elikim. Rabbeinu Bechaya tells us he wasn't scared to gaze at Havaya. Usmunas Havaya Yabit. He will gaze at Hashem. Elikim, on Midas Hadin, on the attribute of judgment, of sternness. Aspaklar Yeshe'in Nomiiro. The absence of God's luminescence, Ki Yorei. Moshe Rabbeinu was scared to gaze at that. Why? Why, at this moment, perhaps the greatest moment a human being can ask for? Ultimate cosmic clarity. All veils are removed. All curtains are parted. All partitions are eliminated. A moment of absolute translucency, or more transparency. Moshe Rabbeinu is given that historical opportunity by the Almighty, by the Rebbeinu Shalom, to understand, to appreciate, to see Elokei Avicha, to look at the flames of life, to look at the suffering of humanity, and see God within those flames. The question of questions, the question that perturbed Avraham Avinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, Yirmiyahu Hanavi, Eiv, the question that pervades our kinos, our lamentations of Tisha B'Av, the question that a whole generation of Jews who survived Auschwitz asked, why?